Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first ever Great Lakes Water Infrastructure Conference. We're going to get started here in just a moment. We're going to let folks join us here for a second because we don't want anybody to miss the important content we've got put together for everybody today. All right, our numbers are ticking up, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thanks everybody for joining. I'm Lisa Clark. I'm Director of Michigan's Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy. I'm thrilled that you're joining us for this very important Great Lakes Water Infrastructure Conference. We have a really good agenda put together for you for the next 2 days. And I'm really proud of us putting this effort together. I got to say, first off, as always, a huge thank you to the team at Eagle. We have incredible folks that do a wonderful job putting together these virtual events. On top of it, we have really important and deep content expertise at the department, and they are scattered throughout the agenda. And so I'm really grateful to the folks at Eagle who see water infrastructure as such an important priority. And most importantly, how do we help deploy the funds that are coming through the state so that they're really in the hands of the locals and can make a difference for the citizens that we all serve. I also want to thank everybody who's participating on the agenda this week. We have a pretty distinguished cast of speakers and panelists. And thank you to all of you from an attendee perspective. You're investing your valuable time in sharing and learning with your peers so that you can play your role to serve your communities and protect our Great Lakes even better. We're really grateful that you're here, and we're very much looking forward to the discussion throughout the panels, throughout the back and forth, through the apps, and connecting people through email and other ways to really create more knowledge and more learning and help us define better what are the questions we need to be grappling with at this important time where we're talking about investing a transformational amount of dollars in our water infrastructure. As of yesterday, we were up to 1,300 registrants from 21 states and 8 countries. You are local, state, and federal officials. You are drinking water and wastewater plant operators, engineers, consultants, academic experts, and members of the public. The roster of participants reflects almost perfectly the people that we had hoped to reach and engage when we decided to put together this event. And we have a wonderful agenda for the next 2 days. We have leaders from academia, industry, and all levels of government coming together to spur discussion on these important topics. Certainly you've looked at it, but just as a preview, we're going to cover water infrastructure issues from funding to drinking water issues, wastewater issues, certainly affordability, flooding, climate impacts, workforce challenges. We've got it all. So looking forward to input from all of you as to how do we tackle these important questions together. When I think of perfect, I think we have the perfect keynote speaker to kick it all off today. Kathy Bernardino-Bailey is the Executive Director of Greater Cincinnati Waterworks for the City of Cincinnati. And while we love to look at these Great Lakes issues, we're certainly excited to hear from her and her perspective, bringing us that expertise from our neighbors to the south. She's a perfect first speaker because she knows water infrastructure as an expert and is a practitioner from the bottom to the top and from the inside to the outside. After earning her Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Cincinnati, she joined the Cincinnati Water Utility in 1992 as a chemist. Over her 3-decade career at the Greater Cincinnati Waterworks, she successfully worked her way up to the organization's top leadership role and is now the first woman and African-American woman to lead the utility since it was founded 200 years ago. Along the way, Mrs. Bailey distinguished herself as a leader in communication, strategic thinking, innovation, outreach, and teamwork. In her rise through the ranks at the utility, she served as water quality and treatment data manager, information technology, help desk administrator, strategic planning, performance measure manager, and project manager. Her local community work and leadership roles led to recognition as one of the 2018 Greater Cincinnati YWCA's Career Women of Achievement and one of the Cincinnati Venue Magazine's Women of Influence. And in 2019, Ms. Bailey was named one of 7 African-American leaders in Cincinnati that residents should get to know for their positive impact on the region. So I am super thrilled, and I hope you will all join me in welcoming the first speaker at the first ever Great Lakes Water Infrastructure Conference, Kathy Bernardino-Bailey. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Director.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me today. I'm excited. This is pretty cool. I would say you guys know how to show up and show out. 1,300 registered for the first conference. That's pretty cool. So I'm excited to be here with you. I want to share some information with you today. I don't have a PowerPoint. I didn't think that was appropriate this early in the morning. Death by PowerPoint is not me. And so I just want to share some information. I want to talk with you and share this information with you. And I want to talk about choosing courage over comfort. Choosing courage over comfort. Something that I speak about often. And I want to share it by pointing out 4 different things. I want to talk about community, connections, environmental/social justice, and storytelling. And as I share about those 4 points, I want to use our lead service line replacement program and how we created that as an example to make those 4 points. Okay? So with that, let me go ahead and get started. And so I want to explain to you, I want to take you back to 2016, 2017, when we were creating our lead service line replacement program. And back then we said we needed to make it into 2 tiers. Tier 1 was all about outreach and education. So we put up a new website, we had a dedicated phone number, we had a lookup map. We sent a letter to over 21,000 customers because our records indicated they still had a lead service line. We had a speakers bureau. We did free testing for schools as well as childcare facilities. And then for anyone in our service area, if you wanted your water tested, we would test it for free. So all of that was in tier 1. And then tier 2 was all about trying to figure out the actual replacement of the lead lines, right? And so as we worked to create that program, we struggled. We struggled with how we would set it up. Now given this was back in 2016, 2017, we were watching what was happening in Flint. We were watching what was happening around the nation. But we were struggling to figure out what we wanted to do. We certainly knew we had funding for the public side, but we know we also needed to remove the private side, but we couldn't figure that out. And so we just focused first on the public side. And I will say we, meaning employees of utility, I think we had in our head that there were limits of what we could do. And some went as far as to speak about what we should do. You know, some employees said, you know, we can figure out the public side, but it's their problem, meaning the customer, if they can't afford to replace it on the private side. They kept saying it's their problem. It's not our problem. Us versus them, it's their problem. And I will tell you, that bothered the heck out of me. It was driving me nuts that they kept saying it's their problem. It's their problem. And so after a lot of thought, I challenged our pretty large team with this. And this is what I shared with them. I said, you know, we are the utility in the region, right? We are the water leader, the organization that delivers safe, clean drinking water every day and associated services. We are a big deal, you know, and because we deliver this product, everybody needs it. And so that makes us a leader in the community. And in fact, we are the community. And it's not an us versus them. We are embedded in the community. We are the community. And therefore, we have a problem. Then I asked them the question, so how will we solve the problem? And to me, I think that was the moment when we saw a mindset that shifted. It was a significant change how we thought about the process and how we wanted to create the program to solve the problem. That's when the innovation started to flow pretty regularly. And so that's how we arrived at our 2017-2018 program. That was a cost-saving solution, or cost-sharing solution, excuse me. A cost-sharing solution to provide our customers with a credit of about $1,500 towards their private side replacement, all right? Which brings me to point number 2, connections. If we are the community, how can we better serve the community? Remember, I mentioned we had a speakers bureau as part of Tier 1, our outreach and education. And so that speakers bureau was about 50 plus employees. And on a monthly basis, we went out into the community to our community council meetings and shared information about our lead service line replacement program. And so as we attended those meetings, employees learned quite a bit about the community that we serve. More information that they had then than we'd ever had before. We had not been out in the community at that level before. And so it was a great opportunity to learn so much, particularly with our 52 neighborhoods inside the city of Cincinnati. And so why was that important? Well, that was important because, as I mentioned, our innovative juices were flowing, but our team members could now learn so much more about the customers that we serve and the neighborhoods and the nuances of each neighborhood. And so I can recall one day when one of the team members, and when I said we had a large team, it was about 25 of us initially on that team, which is pretty big for a team. But I can remember when one of the team members said, you guys are talking about putting some things up on the website and making sure that forms and information is available on the website. But for the neighborhood meeting that I attend on a monthly basis, it's a lot of African American neighbors that come into those meetings, and they don't have internet on a regular basis. And he said, so that solution of putting information on the website and having them access it is not going to work for the people that I go to, and see at these meetings. And to me, that was a game changer, because if you look a little deeper into that, that was a white male team member that was advocating for people that didn't look like him. And so he had truly saw himself as part of the community and was advocating for these neighbors, these customers, making sure that whatever solution we brought forward was something that they could use. He had truly made a connection. Which brings me to point number 3, which is environmental/social justice. So as we had this lead service line replacement program in the early days, we were trying to figure out if it made sense. So we set up a focus group and we attended the focus group. And it was me and my deputy director, Verna, and we were there and we went over our program, shared the highlights of the program, and we asked them what they thought. It was a focus group. And clearly this meeting was an I'm hesitating because I can remember it, and it was such an aha moment for me. And call it what you want. It was an aha moment, it was a slap in the face, it was a turning point, a wake-up call, whatever you want to call it. It was that moment, and it was significant for me. But here's what happened in that meeting. It was a situation where we explained, like I said, our program, and then we said, okay, what do you think about that? And so on one side of the room, there were a few young white males. They were flippers. They were flipping houses in one of our neighborhoods with a lot of innovation. And they said, thank you. They said, thank you. This program is more than what we expected. And it far exceeds our expectations, and it's going to help us quite a bit. Thank you for the program. But on the other side of the room, there were some seasoned African-American women. They had been, advocates in their community, involved heavily in their community for many, many years. And one of them in particular spoke up to me and she said, honey, and that's when my heart dropped, because she said honey. So I knew I was in trouble. She was about to read me something, and I needed to make sure I listened to it. But she said, honey, let me understand if I understand this correctly. She said, I was the first generation homeowner in my family. I bought this house many, many years ago. I have struggled to hold on to it. It needs a lot of work, and I don't have the money to make the repairs. The city is now building $350,000, $400,000 homes next to my property taxes will likely go up. And now you are here asking me to put $5,000, $6,000 in the ground for a pipe that I can't see when I have all these other priorities that I need to do to really maintain my house. Do I understand this right? And if I do, I can't afford this, and the people that I know can't afford it. And it was such an aha moment for me, because it was at that moment when I realized, and I was angry. I was angry at myself, and I was embarrassed that I hadn't thought this far into the program. As a leader, I hadn't put us on that path to think this far into the program, because our program was getting ready to further divide our community by race. And Lord knows we already had all these other problems that divided us by race. But this was another one that we were getting ready to put in place that would have done that. And certainly that was not our intent. That is not what we wanted to do. And so with that new knowledge, that new truth, we went back to the table and added a low-income customer assistance program that gave our customers an additional $1,000 on top of the $1,500 credit we already gave them. Which brings me to point number 4, which is storytelling. And so we approached this program, from the beginning of wanting to tell our own story, to become storytellers for this program and for our utility. And so as we shared at these community council meetings, we remember to share personal stories with our customers. As we attended other meetings, we shared about, our customers' replacements and how they were happy about it and what they shared with us. And certainly when I updated our council members at meetings on the progress of our program, I shared information with them in a storytelling fashion. And so in order to do this, we needed plenty of data to correlate with everything that we already had, our billing data, et cetera. But I needed to make sure that the storytelling was authentic, it was credible, and so I wanted data. So early on, my IT section was sick of me. They were tired of me asking them to give them data sets and slice it this way and do that. But I wanted all the data possible. And to this day, I still want all the data possible. I just like data. But I wanted them to show me a list of all the lead lines in the city of Cincinnati. Show me all the lead lines outside of the city of Cincinnati. Show me the lead lines by the 52 neighborhoods. Marry the data with our current capital projects and our past capital projects, so I could understand where we did more projects versus other areas. Marry the data with our lead testing results, correlate it with census data, poverty by neighborhood, renters versus homeowners, seniors, children under 5, number of schools in the neighborhood, number of child cares in the neighborhood, foreclosures. I wanted all those different subsets of data because I needed to be able to tell a story. And I wanted that data readily available so when the time would come, I could certainly maximize the use of it. And so it helped us prioritize our projects, but not only that, it helped us make social justice decisions on how we started projects, where we started projects, so that our customer base looked very different, and we were starting projects across all those neighborhoods and not just in affluent neighborhoods or just in low-income neighborhoods. And so all those data sets were there to help me make those decisions, to help our team make the decisions. But more importantly, those data sets and our storytelling came in handy in December of 2021 when we capitalized on our council member moment where we were able to get approval to now fund 100% of the private lead service line replacement. So we've gone from 40% cost sharing to 40% with a customer assistance program to now really choosing courage over comfort to get outside of what we would normally do and have 100% replacement for the private side. And so we often hear the phrase, you know, what's in the water? I think it's that day when I was before council, courage was in the water because it was like an out of body experience. I knew that I had to sell it, I had to bring it home, and I was certainly doing my best. And we were thrilled when we got approval to get to 100% private line replacement because we knew that would up the game and more people would then come into the program to replace their lead lines. So with all of this, you know, we chose courage over comfort. We didn't seek the easy road that often feels better, that aligns with the phrase, we've always done it this way, right? We often hear that phrase, we've always done it this way, so we can't change it. But we didn't have to create this lead line replacement program. We didn't have to find a solution to help our customers remove the private side. We didn't have to apply a social justice lens to help low income. We didn't fall back into our comfortable ways of doing things. We wanted to move forward with courage. And so now, all of us, we have this infrastructure money in front of us. And choosing courage over comfort will not be comfortable. It will be very uncomfortable, right? So will you be the community, make the connections, endure the discomfort, being vulnerable? Will you stand up and reveal the truth in your story as you start to spend this infrastructure money? How will you use this infrastructure money, choose courage over comfort, and become an anchor institution? And then how will you respond and tell your story? So with all of this, I will leave you with this. You know, sometimes I use rhymes in my information. Why? I don't know. It's just something fun to do. It's the quirkiness in me. It's how I roll. But I will close today with a rhyme for you. You can choose courage or you can choose comfort, but you cannot choose them both. I'm suggesting you choose courage over comfort for a change and maximum growth. Courage over comfort is not easy. It's likely the harder path along the way, but it's honest, it's good work, and it's the change we want to see and stay. Leave here today with that thought in mind, ready to spend infrastructure dollars with social justice aligned, poised to be the community and connections to find, fueled to be the change with not one customer left behind. Choosing courage over comfort might leave some moonshine, but water warriors are up for the grind. The game changer in front of us will be thoroughly defined, outlined, designed, refined, and signed. An effort that will involve all of us combined, and social media and other outlets will tell the story and remind that they chose courage over comfort, and it was exceptional and divine. So with that, I want to thank you for just letting me have a few brief moments to talk about choosing courage over comfort. It's something that we strive to do every day here at this utility. I'm encouraging many people in the water industry to do that with all of this infrastructure money that we have in front of us. It's not enough for us to just sit back in our comfortable areas, but we need to get out front. We need to be the change that we need to see and be. And I'm hoping that this was something that will encourage you to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Bailey. I mean, I don't even know how to express my gratitude. I certainly loved the way you pulled it all together at the end, and a couple of the things that you said in your rhyme really connected with me. Not one customer left behind. And from my perspective, that's not one resident of the state left behind. And it's an effort that involves all of us. So that really resonated. I just very much am appreciative of your time and your leadership for joining us here today. It's an incredible kickoff to the next 2 days. So thank you for what you do and for sharing with us. And to those of you who are participating, we're going to take a break and we'll start the next round at 9:50. So grab a cup of coffee and settle in because we've got a lot to do. So thanks again, Director Bailey, and we'll see many of you back shortly.